To Bunny's Designs. This is a Thursday live show on Ustream, recorded for ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm playing with my Derwent watercolor pencils, but I'm using them as a watercolor on watercolor paper, and I'm just about to make a wash. Now I have sketched, I've been playing on this side, and I don't really like the mushrooms and I don't like the blackberries. So that was kind of wet in wet. So I've sketched very roughly and masked off. As you can see the masking fluid. I bought some new masking fluid, Winsor Newton, slightly pigmented, so it's a cream colour, so you can see it. Hopefully you can see that it is a bit of a yellow colour. So I thought I'd have a play. So I've got, I couldn't find my other little wash, so I'm going to use this one. And I used it for my masking fluid as well, because it's porcelain, so it won't hold on to anything. So I've got a kind of a fairly big well of water in there. Now I do have my traditional colours here. These are my professional watercolours. But I want to show how these fantastic Derwent pencils can be dry as a pencil. They can be wet and used with a paper palette, but you can also make a wash with them. So I thought I'd do a quick wash. So let me have a look at the blues. I've got them in my Derwent art bag, so I can flip and find the colours I like. So there's oriental blue, there's a turquoise blue, there's a light blue. Now I've had a couple of other blues out, but now I'm going to use them from the pencil, but I'm also going to use them from my little book of watercolours, where I've scratched a square. So again, I use this, instead of looking through the pencils, I use this quite a lot. So if I go to my watercolour pencils, and move that up slightly, there's my yellows. So they're all in colour order because it just makes it easier. So I have my yellows and my oranges and my reds. Then I have my pinky reds, my cold reds, sorry, my pink reds and my cold reds and dark reds, purples, purpley blues, cold blues, greens. Then I have my olive colours and sage colours. I have my greys. I have my cold browns, and I have my warm browns on the opposite side. So when I have my piece of plastic in between to stop colour contamination, I can see all the browns, and I can choose whether I want a dark warm one or a cool warm one. And everyone's got a colour swatch as well. So even though there's only one colour here, so there's one pencil scratched on one colour, there are 10 shades. So when I'm looking at my colours, I don't look here and I don't look here or here. I look here, because that's going to tell me what this pencil or this square of colour is going to give me. And again, that's really nice with the purples, because these are really dark purples, dark violet, but it's going to give me a really pale colour up here. And I find I really like this. I love this book for this reason. It's my colour guide, and it also has a lot of control, so I can get 10 colours out of here. I can only get 2 touching this paintbrush with a paint. I can only get 2 colours unless I make a paper palette. So I was going to quick look at blues, and there is a sky blue here, and obviously I can't find my sky blue. So my sky blue is number 34. And of course number 34 is looking at me. But when I looked at this, I didn't see it. So that's my sky blue. So I can have a lovely sky, or I can add a little bit of deep sky here. So I think I'm going to have a pale sky. In fact, I wasn't actually going to have a sky on this, was I? I don't think I was going to have a sky because it's a toadstool. I was going to have kind of a dark, because although this particular one, wherever it's gone, oh, it's on the other side. So changed the mind. I want a green background, so I kind of want not a cedar green. I think I'd like bottle green is too fake. Juniper green is quite nice. I think I like these tones for backgrounds, and then I can work with olives and olive browns for foliage and for things. So I think I kind of like that one. So that's number 14, juniper green, and they should all be in colour order, but I did have quite a lot of them out. So juniper green is 42. Now normally I'd be able to go straight to it, but as I say, I've been playing with the colours, so they're all out. And there's a cedar green, just number 50. I seem to have put cedar green somewhere. There's 42, juniper green. I think I like that one. It's not too green and it's not too light, so it's going to give kind of a mid-tone to the backgrounds, because I did have this at the other side and I didn't really like it. This was working wet in wet. So I wet the paintbrush with the big wet number 2, and then I drop colour in with the number 0, and it mixed it together just with water. I don't think I like that. Oh, hi Judy, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? So again, it's a bit wishy-washy, and I wanted it to be kind of really dramatic down here and then really kind of pale up here. So it didn't really work, so I thought I'd have a bit of a play because I want to get this right before I use it on my other one. Because again, I haven't done this for a long time, so I'm so out of practice. So how to make a wash. Now normally you would not have your paints near your white watercolor paper, but obviously you won't see what I'm doing, and this is a practice, so if I drop a boo-boo, it's fine. So I want my scalpel blade, which is put away safe. So there's quite a lot of water in here, but I drop more. And how you do this is about 30. And you can do that way, which is big curls, or you can do this way. And what I do is when I'm doing a wash, I will turn the pencil. And this is why I have a lot of paint out. So I don't use a pencil sharpener, I use a blade. And I've got still some quite nice shapes on here. So I've got some sharp edges if I need. But what you do is if you turn it, so if you wanted a point and you had a watercolor pan set, which is actually, I might actually buy that. I think I'm going to buy one. I buy another water set. And then what I can do is sharpen all my pencils to a point using this method. And what it's going to do, it's going to give me 72 colours. Now I don't really want to use that brush because it's not mixed in as well. So I'm going to use a little, I had a cheapy brush for mixing. Always mix with a children's cheapy brush. It makes your other brushes last twice as long, if not longer. So I've got this really cheapy brush, but it's soft, it's fine, it'll do the job. So that's a really, really wet. Now you do have to kind of just give it a mix. It doesn't take much, as you can see. Whoopsie. that's wonderful. Just by sharpening a point on a pencil, I have a lovely watercolour. Now I can actually just very quickly, again, wonderful thing about these pencils, just let me find a piece of scrap. So I've been playing with bits of scrap paper. So I can have a look and see. That's a really nice, that would be quite good for a green stream or a duck pond because it's kind of a soft colour. But I kind of want it a bit. And this is why you're using the whole of this brush. It's not precious, it's not your sable. You can really, really dig it down and mix this colour, which is why you don't really want to do it over your work. So we now have a lovely watercolour wash and no watercolour inside. It was just a little bit of scratched colour. So these are really, really gorgeous, gorgeous watercolours in their own right. But the versatility is fantastic. Now again, when that dries, it will dry slightly lighter. And you can do all sorts of things with it if you want. I'm just wondering if I want to darken it up a little bit, but I don't think I do, but I might want it a bit stronger. Now, I did touch that, so those need to be mixed in, because if not, they will come out when I least want them. And as a practice, that's just how thin they're going to be. So we can scratch a bit more colour. And I broke this one earlier. I broke the point off, but all that's pure colour. So I can put it in a well somewhere. So I've got quite a few of those. So what I intend to do is just scrape some more colour in here. And then when you get your point near, you can, and you turn the brush very carefully. This blade isn't particularly sharp as they used to be, but you see, I've now got almost a perfect point. But at the same time, I've got, this is how we used to sharpen a pencil. And you keep going, and then when you get near, now I've seen some artists up here start and have all this wood off, and it's a very long, long point. But I just love the fact that I have got a watercolour wash from sharpening my pencil. And that's just as sharp, and I used this one earlier because my hands were poorly. So one was done in the pencil sharpener, which is not good for the pencil, and the other one is done with a blade, and it didn't take long. And your pencils will last twice as long. So again, cheapy, 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 mix, mix, mix. So never use your sable brushes only for doing your finest detail. And they will last a lot longer. So if you did this with your brushes, they wouldn't last as long. Now I've got colour over there, but that's because I was holding it wrong. But that's quite a nice wash. So again, we can just make sure that everything's kind of mixed together. Now, my hands are not working very well, but you would do this to the side. Now we've got a stronger colour. And it would be quite nice to get your washes how you like them. So I think that would look okay because I can go darker, but it's just going to take off the stark white. So I do have quite a lot of bits on here, and I wrecked the page earlier by not waiting till my masking fluid was dry. So again, that's a big, make sure your masking fluid is dry. So just put the blade away. So a dunk in there. I don't really need too much. And then straight across. Now, the one thing I should have done is wet it first, but because I don't want any lines. If I'd have wet it first, it'd have been okay. And it's buckled, it's kinked up because it's not stretched. So that's why this one is ready stretched and it's flat and it's waiting for when I get good at this, I can start using this. If that made any sense. So I kind of like that. Now, just very quickly, I'll show you the difference, how you should have done it, how I should have done it really, is, it doesn't matter what brush it is, but this should be wet, clear water, wet. It's just a bit too wet actually. The other way to do it, which I probably will do actually, is a sponge. So you can use a sponge to get some wet. So that's wet, but it's not dripping wet. It's dampened it so that when I pick this up, and I've watered it down again really, but it's fine. That should go on better. There's a complete difference now. Now because this is a practice, it's not going to bother me, but that's gone on so much nicer. Well, it hasn't really made a difference, but you can see the difference. One's wet in wet and one's wet on dry. And again, this isn't precious paper because it's on the back, so it's got splodges on it, it's got all sorts on it. So again, I just, oops, to do that one. If I just wet this with a sponge, as long as it's evenly wet, you're okay. And then straight across until you get it even. So this is giving me some little backgrounds to play with. So I can pop that up there. And it's also, just put that one up there. So this one is the one that I've just done. But I've masked, I haven't masked the red off. Now what we can do, I don't think I have any, but I can take it off with a sponge if I wanted. I just don't have too much colour, but it's quite a soft colour is this one. Oopsie. Just I can wet this. And this is quite a thick one, but it did buckle even so. To be a bit careful that you don't rub your masking fluid off. And then I'm just going to go over there with a wash. And it is a very pale wash, is that? But then if I put my leaves, I will have a pale highlight on my leaves and I don't have to do anything. Always start pale. Always start pale to dark. Because you can take it off, so you can put it on, but it's so much more difficult to take it off. Just try this bit here. Has anybody got any questions? So I just thought I'd have a bit of a play because I'm so out of practice. but I kind of like that. So this one is the 300 pound 638G rough, but as you can see, because I wet it earlier, it's buckled, it's twisted. So if I was doing this properly, and I put a colour here, it's going to run. And I cannot believe that the light would do this. Just bear with me 2 seconds. I should move the camera out. That's better. You can see it's a very, very, very subtle wash compared to the others that I've done. So I've got some quite nice places to play. I did these the other day. Again, I didn't leave a gap, so they blended together. But I wanted to show the versatility of the Derwent watercolour pencils. That you have a wash or you have a background. Now these technically weren't, these are a different watercolour, but you can still get the wash effect. This one is almost dry now, and again it's soft because I've wet it quite a lot. So that was wet in wet. The wet on dry that I did first is stronger and it's dried. This one is damp because this is what the one I wet that first and then I put the colour on. So you've got two different tones straight away. So if you're going to do something kind of really dark and mysterious, that's fine. If you want some really light highlights on some long tall grass, then a pale background is fine because you can always darken it up. Always work light to dark. Never dark to light because it's so difficult to, you can do it, but it is difficult and it's not as precise. So if you want some really fine detail work, you need to be a bit more precise. Then you need to work one way, and I've used most of that up. And I'm just going to put my big brush now because I don't need this big one now, it can go away. So take most of the water off it. I find tea towels quite good because they've got to be lint free if it's oils, but water doesn't normally bother anything a bit. You couldn't do it with a tissue paper because normally it just disintegrates, so a cloth is the best option really. But I'm quite happy with a baby wipe because it doesn't disintegrate. So I've got this little thing here now. I could clean that. I think I might clean all that off ready for next time because I'm not going to use that colour again. I've got that colour. I know what it is. And I've got a little kind of a colour thing that I've been doing to try and remember the colours on the pages I'm doing in colour books. Because sometimes I use some nice colours and then I forget what they are, so again that's something else, but I don't need to do that with this because as I was playing about with one of the colours, which of course I can't find now, always have the live stream gremlin. So that was the grass that I did earlier, and then that was the first attempt, and the mushroom, so that you can see the colours are a bit better. So you can get so many colours in there. And then that was just one sweep. So it works really well. And we were mixing the colours. So I've got this kicking about that will go with my watercolour swatches. And I can write a little note. It's my mushroom page. In fact, what I've done, because I've been making the fairies, I've made 2 mannequins from the first book that I bought this weekend. I bought from Amazon, which from eBay, and I really like these. So I'm going to make some paper clothes for them, like the old-fashioned paper dolls that we used to play with as children, and they had little kind of they used to have little tabs that used to fit around the legs, but I think I'm going to make some, and I've got some repositionable tape spray, so I think I might use that, and then they can do what you want with them then. So I say I've got this one, and then I have this one that I've been playing with. This is almost dry. Now I did buy a heat gun, but it's not plugged in, so in this particular one here, this is the tracing template from the book. And then I have tracing paper in here, and I think I'm going to have a bigger one. This is all the sketches for the colour book, so I've got all my sketches and all my doodles. So they want to be in here. And all my other things as well. So that's why I'm trying to get some nice shapes and nice colours. It seems to have flashed out again. Just let me turn this light. I have no idea why. It's fine for 3 hours and then it goes kaput. Does that make it any better? No. I mean, it is a very pale colour. Oh, we have rain and we have misery outside. It's gone very dull, so maybe that's done something to the lighting. It just always bewilders me that it's fine for 1 minute and then it's just kind of not. I'll try that there. How ridiculous. But I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, and then I can next, when it's all dry, rub out. I'm going to leave the window in, but take out the mushroom. And then I can paint the mushroom. And I can paint the back, and then eventually I can take that one off last, because that's the palest, and the white, because I do want those to be white. So I think I'm going to do that in kind of really pastel colours, but I want to build some kind of really dramatic colours up. So I'm using this as you see now, I've used the olive. Let's have a look what else have we used. So this is definitely watercolour, and it's olive number 51. Now I do have them all kicking about because I took them out in the last video. So I've been streaming for it's 1:30 and I started just after 9 this morning, so the desk gets a little bit messy. So I'm looking for number 51 olive green, which is that one. See, all the pencils are out. The last one hiding. So what I need to do is just double check olive green 51, olive green 51, and I can instantly replenish that. And I might as well do the 42 juniper. They probably are the favourite ones, and sap green will be another one that I use because I love the colours. So I tend to use them quite a lot. See if sap green is still. So this one's juniper 42, and I can scratch, sorry, I can scratch that one now. I normally get my girls to do this, or Hubby's been known to scratch a few squares for me. To scratch some squares for me. Normally they don't take a lot, but it's just when those particular ones I do like. Now that's just got a crease on there, so I need some double-sided sticky tape for that. And I can't find any, so it'll have to be a little job to do next time. I made some bigger squares this time, and it's just a bit tight in that corner. So sometimes you've got to leave a little bit of a gap if you're putting your squares in. So let me have a look. Where have we got to? This is just a bit damp, so again I'm going to pop that up there. I'm not going to be working on this one, and this one is now dry, so we can do this. So I'm going to be using paper palettes because not everybody has, sorry about the rattle, not everybody has so again, I think I like those colours. These are the colours that I've been looking at. I like those colours. So I can do two things. I can find number 19, number 15, number 19, and number 65, because these are the colours that I've been looking at. So I've mixed two colours together to give a red that I like for my toadstool. I think this one is a bit pinky. This one I was having to add blue to all the time. So you can do this two ways. You can scratch the colour onto, well, you can do it three ways. You can scratch the colour. Let me just find my mushroom colours. Just keep that blue. So we can do this two ways. So we'll go on the back of here. So you can scratch the colour. Now obviously the white's not going to work. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten I moved. The white's not going to work. And then you've got a little bit of red here. And then number 19, Madder Carmine. then last of all, burnt carmine. And this is the one that I kind of have. And then when you activate this, I've lost my baby wipe now. The reason I use a baby wipe is because it's damp. It's not dry. It's not a dry cloth, and it's not saturated wet. It's just damp. And I find that's the best combination. So I'll just, you can activate the white, but obviously it's not going to show much. And then you can drag the colour down darker and darker, and then until you get to your madder carmine. So that's one way to do it. The other way is to use the colours. So I'm just going to scratch another bit of this one. To clean brush. The other way to do it is to scratch the colours together, because we know that this is what we want to use. Test on the side here. And then kind of draw in the little mushroom. And while it's wet, take a sponge or onto dry tissue this time. Kitchen paper's really good. And we're building up the colour. But not really in a very, very wet way. Just gentle colour. Now you can let each layer dry, or you can keep blending in a little bit. And then we liked the number 19. Just to give that a bit of colour. We use 15 and 19 together, so this is kind of a wet, blending wet. And of course it's professional watercolour, so it will be okay to do this. And then we just need to get that really dark contrast under there. And apologies for the croaky voice today. I have my Thursday streaming voice. So you could just do with a little bit of a softer blend. So just a damp brush to soften that. So it's not quite wet in wet, it's wet on dry. And always go from light to dark, because chances are you can lose your highlight, which I've just done. And you'll get a really nice blend. But if you can do two things, you can do a clean dry brush, and you can push the colour, and then very quickly take kitchen paper and dab, and you can bring your highlight. So that's going from dark to light, but it's really difficult to control, and you don't get this nice effect. So it's not, oh gosh, that might be slightly better. And then we've made some darker greys, but I think I might like this one. So I'm going to use a burnt yellow ochre, I think. Just put this light on and see what happens. So try and do this. Hope the light might get a bit better. I kind of like this straw colour. This is quite nice, this. And then this one's just called Gold. So again, I think I kind of like that as well. So I'll go with that one. So I've got 3 colours. And again, I'm just going to have a bit of a play. Damp baby wipe. I need to just kind of put, and I haven't drawn this out, this one, this is different, this one's not been drawn, so it's kind of working. Yeah, it's I'm going to stop the video because it's not working. I don't understand. It was fine for 2 hours, and it's as soon as it comes afternoon here, it just disappears. I can't understand what it is. I just cannot understand what it is. So sorry guys, I'm going to have to stop this video, so we'll see what happens with it. Thanks for watching.